Alright, what's up guys? I just came back from the 200th YCS. I didn't top in the regular events. I had 3 draws in a row as soon as I got there, and then I won about 4 or 5. And somewhere in there I just decided, I'm like, you know what, this isn't gonna work out. If I lose one more, I'm basically guaranteed not to make it to day 2, so I just said screw it. But for the weekend, I only lost once. Everything else was either wins or draws. Right after I decided to leave the regular 200th YCS events, and I entered a ton of side events where I won this mat. I got this mat. This is the entry mat that you got for the 200th YCS, and I won this mat. I also won a bunch of. I actually won 2 of this mat, and this mat actually goes for like $100, like 100, yeah, something like that. And I traded it for these 3 dice here. So I traded one of the mats for these 3 dice, and I also won a Draco Sack token and the Ojama token right here. So I won these 2 tokens, and I won that mat at the bottom. So basically, I was undefeated the entire day except for one Sky Striker matchup, but I played Phantasm Spirals. This is my deck. I think it's the best deck possible. I would only make one change, and I'll let you know in 1 second what it would be. But I played 3 Meluseek X's. It's the only normal monster. This is the only monster I played in the main deck. I think it's the only monster you need because I'll show you why. Mostly the token is the best monster you have in the entire deck. But other than the token, I have a bunch of nonsense that I do that makes it even better. So this is the only regular monster that I play in the main deck. Is 3 Meluseek. Next I play 3 of the Phantasms, the Pacifists, the Phantasm City, the field spell. This field spell is really, really good. It creates a token whenever your opponent activates anything. It doesn't chain anything, so even if they destroy your token, you just get another token. It's really awesome. On top of that, it creates free advantage. Every time the field spell activates, it's basically a free +2. Because the field spell stays on the field and you get a token and you get a search every single time. And as long as you have it for more than 1 turn, it's just endless sort of pluses. Then we have 2 terraformings. I'd play 50 of these if I could, but I can only play 2. It thins the deck, and you know what terraforming does. 3 Potted Duality. You don't special summon a lot during your turn, but I found that this was the card that I was siding out most. Again, I'll get to sort of why I sided out this card later in the video. But Potted Duality is good because it lets you kind of sift through your deck, get exactly what you need, get the puzzle pieces. Sometimes you need a normal monster, sometimes you need the field spell, sometimes you might need a Floodgate, something like that. This lets you basically look at your cards, pick out what you need. Sometimes I don't like it because it reveals to your opponent what deck you're playing a little earlier than I'd like, but I guess, you know, there's positives and negatives to it all. We have Card of Demise. This is another, just a draw card. Very good. This is the major draw card of this deck. I don't have any complaints about this. This was very good. There were situations where I was down, where I was losing, and this card really saved me a lot. It really is. It's a very good card. It's just it's broken in the decks where it's good, and this is definitely a deck where it's good because you special summon tokens during your opponent's turn, but during your turn you don't really summon anything. You don't usually special summon anything. Next we play 3 Fossil Digs. The reason I play 3 Fossil Digs instead of 6 monsters is because the Fossil Digs you can always set. So if you draw them off of Card of Demise, you can set them. And you can, let's say you draw them first, then you additionally additionally have Card of Demise in your hand. Let's say your hand is like a Fossil Dig and a Card of Demise. You can also always set the Fossil Dig, and then activate Card of Demise, draw 3, and then you can activate Fossil Dig. That way you can normal summon the Meluseek you draw, the Meluseek that you search, I mean to say, and then you can normal summon it and get the effects of Pacifist. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to. Next, I play 3 copies of Shared Ride. This was like the MVP card of the format. I play this instead of Heatwave. I used to play Heatwave. Heatwave is more of like an OTK build. If you have like a maybe going second build, or like you want to finish your opponent off real quick, it's very good. Definitely Heatwave is one of the best cards. But the problem was this is a slower, like bottom heavy build. So the problem with with Heat Wave is that I used to just Heat Wave my opponent. They would set a monster, and then I would, I'd destroy the monster, and then the duel would just keep going as if nothing, as if the Heat Wave never happened. Unless you're drawing like 3 Heat Waves in a row, it's not really all that beneficial. And usually when you Heat Wave your opponent, they just set a monster, and they don't really activate anything. So you don't get to use the field spell, you don't get to do anything. That's kind of frustrating. So most of the time when I used to play Heat Wave, it used to just basically stall for a turn, which I don't think is that beneficial because I'd rather be playing Floodgates or something. All right, next we've got 2 copies of Scapegoat. Again, I'd play 3 if I could. I can't. This is another card that's really good. It lets you go into boss monsters. This deck has problems with bigger monsters. It really does because the token's 2,000, and so is the Megala Smasher. And even if you played the Phantasm Spiral Dragon, it's only 29. It's 34 with one of the equip spells, which I don't play any of. But the problem with this deck sometimes is that you cannot get a big boss monster to get over things. You can't use your extra deck. With Scapegoat, you can utilize the extra deck, and it doesn't really conflict with the deck because the Scapegoats are also normal monsters, which are really nice. And you can, again, activate it during your opponent's turn. Next turn, make whatever you need. I'll show you what I have in my extra deck, but you can make whatever you need. All right, moving on to traps, we play 1 Phantasm Spiral Power. I don't think you need more than one of these because you can search it. Usually when I go first, I'll search this. And nobody really knows your deck. That's what's amazing. So you summon whatever you need during turn 1, like a Megala Smasher. You search this. They read it. You Effect Veiler this card's like Effect Veiler. You Effect Veiler either whatever their combo starter is, depending on their deck. It's very good. You can Effect Veiler like a Stratos or whatever deck they happen to be playing. If I played a lot of Trickstars, you can Effect Veiler their Candida. If you play against Sky Strikers, their I forget the red one's name. Kagari. You can Effect Veiler the Kagari or the blue one or the Hayate, the one that attacks directly. Same thing with Alistair. This is really good against Invoked because you can basically negate anything. But definitely this is a very good card. But I only run it at 1 just because you never really need to see more than 1. This is the better of the 2 cards, Phantasm Spiral Battle. This lets you target and destroy a card on the field, and you can activate both of these trap cards during either player's turn and from your hand if you have Umi and all normal monsters. So it's really, really cool. But this is a very incredible disruption because you can pop back row. It's good against Altergeist. It's good against a lot of people. But this is a really good card. That's probably one of the better cards in the deck. Next we play 3 Metaverse. Again, I used to play 2 Metaverse and I used to play 2 Metaverse and 3 Terraforming. Now I play 3 Metaverse and 2 Terraforming. It's only because of the ban list. I'd be playing 2 if I could. But it's still very good. It's chainable and stuff. Alright, we play 2 Sea Stealth Attack. I would change this to 3. Yeah, after doing this event, like I said, I did pretty well. I only lost 1 duel. Like I had a bunch of draws and I probably had like 15 wins. Like from all of the side events and the regular events that I did, and I had 1 loss. But this is the only card that I would change. Because I would definitely play it at 3. When I saw this, I usually won. It protects your token from ever being destroyed. It might as well be a card in the archetype. Like that's how good this card is. It brings Umi back from the graveyard, which is your field spell. It always counts as Umi. And you can banish your token and then protect your back row. And then if anything, again, that effect is chainable. So you can just, like, let's say they activate Twin Twisters, you banish the token, and then your back row's protected, and afterwards you search. So it's a really good card with the deck. I would bump this up to 3. Big mistake for not having it at 3. Goes in match. Play 3 goes in match. This card, I can't even describe to you how good it was because, I mean, there were situations where my opponent would soul charge, and right after the soul charge, I would activate this. Anytime I would play like Mech Knights, they play Mind Control. They'd activate Mind Control, and I'd activate this, and they couldn't take my monster, so it would just fizzle away. There were situations where they would activate, what's that thing called? Invocation, for example. and I would activate this, and they didn't have a dark target. So they would have Alistair on the field, and they want to make a Macabre, and they wouldn't because this was active. This is really good against Sky Strikers, because they would activate the Hornet drones, summon the token, and then I would activate this, and they couldn't do anything with the token. It'd just be sitting there in defense mode. So this card was extremely good. It's literally good against every deck. It was really good against Altergeist. It destroys Altergeist. It basically wrecks their entire field if they don't have any kind of a response. But this card was one of the better cards to play. Next we play 1 Macrocosmos. This is good against a lot of decks. I don't have to explain it all that much. A lot of cards activate in the graveyard. I played against the Blue Eyes Sky Striker guy. He was one of the draws I had. But he was when I had first game, I drew this and Skill Drain, and he basically had no way to answer that. All of his cards got banished. He literally he couldn't win the game. But this was a very good card overall. Again, the only reason I play 1 is because it's limited. You already know that. 1 Skill Drain. Skill Drain is a very good card to play in the deck. It doesn't hurt me at all. Play 2 Storming Mirror Forces. This is very good because no one plays no one plays any battle traps anymore. And when you have something like this, no one sees it coming whatsoever. Because they'll make like a Boral Sword, and they'll be just ready to go. They'll have everything lined up, and then you'll just Storming Mirror Force them, and they'll lose. I've literally made people lose fields over this card right here. Same thing with the Drowning Mirror Force. One of the most like gratifying things for me was I made a guy like his entire invoked field went back to his hand because he didn't play any traps. So he had like 2 Mechabuzz. He had Alistair, the Invoker of Madness, on the field, and then he had like one of the what are they called? The Mech Knights on the field. And he had just gotten over my token, and then he wasted all these resources to get over my token in my field spell, and I Drowning Mirror forced him and made everything go back to the deck. So that card was really like one of the more like MVPs. All right, next we have the extra deck. I play basically a bunch of stuff that you resolve after you summon after you activate the Scapegoats. I play 1 Proxy Dragon, 2 Link Spiders, 2 Mrs. Radiance. These are really good under Goes in Match. Because even if you Goes in Match, you can use your 2 tokens to summon 2 Mrs. Radiance, and they're 2400 attack when they're both on the field. That's kind of big to have an attacker under Goes in Match that big. Then we have a Borlo Dragon, a Boral Sword. Again, very good card. Every time I summoned him, I won. I usually won. Every time I summoned him, I won. There's a few stats. I won every single game 1 of the entire weekend. I won every single time I summoned Boral Sword. So those are like the 2 major stats. And usually when I created a loop with Sea Stealth Attack and my token, I usually won the duel. So those are like the 3 things. But I always won game 1 because when people play against this deck, they're never prepared with the right cards against it. So most people side in Twin Twisters. A lot of people have stuff like Impermanence, totally useless against this deck. They have stuff like Effect Veiler, again, useless, because most of the time you just have normal monsters. And they have stuff like Called by the Grave, again, totally useless. Like, I'd say probably 25% of everybody's deck is entirely useless. Widow Anchor's another one, completely useless, only works on effect monsters. But anyways, let's continue. Here we have the Ghost Reaper targets. We have Heavy Metaphors Electromite, Summon Sorceress, Isolde, came in handy. Sky Striker, Ace Kagari, Invoke Mechabud, Dante, Cyber Dragon Nova, totally awesome. This is for Waking the Dragons, although any of these targets can be Waking the Dragon target. Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon, I only summoned him, I think, like twice. I won both games I summoned him. Because he's crazy, he's unaffected by everything. What are Sky Strikers supposed to do against him? Next we've got the side deck. Play 3 Lava Golem. Lava Golem is better than any Kaiju in this deck. And Lava Golem, yeah, it's definitely better than any Kaiju in this deck. Because and it's better than Raw Sphere mode. And the reason it's better than Kaijus and Raw Sphere mode is because when you summon this on your opponent's field, there's a mandatory effect to inflict 1000 life points. And when that effect activates, let's say you have the field spell in the field, you summon this to their side of the field, You end your turn. Their Lava Golem activates. Your field spell activates. And then you get a free token. They lose 1,000 life points. And so, yeah, they lose 1,000 life points. Your field spell activates. You get a token. You get the search. All off of a Lava Golem. And this, of course, is after you get rid of 2 of their like major problematic monsters. So this was a very good card to side in. Next, we've got 2 Barrier Statue of the Torrent. This only came in handy really once. I don't think I'm going to play this again. I'm going to replace this with either Evenly Matched or Imperial Iron Wall, because getting Evenly Matched in this deck is really, really frustrating. Like, that was my one loss, was because I got Evenly Matched. But definitely I'm replacing this guy with Evenly Matched or Imperial Iron Wall. We've got a Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. Not really much to explain. We've got a Raigeki, a Dark Hole, replacing this for either Evenly Matched or the Imperial Iron Wall. Probably same with this. Got 2 Anti-Spell Fragrances. I used it somewhat, depending on the matchup. Not particularly necessary. But this card you definitely need, the Waking the Dragons. Because the whole time you're flipping Mirror Forces, or I should say I was flipping Mirror Forces. So the first time I flipped that Mirror Force, during any of my like first duels, people were like, they sided in so much back row removal, they made sure to made sure that my back row was clear every single time. And this card was always extremely good for that, because they'd clear my back row entirely, and they were bound to hit one of these. And the great thing is about this card, it doesn't really interfere with the field spell, because you don't particularly have to hit. You don't have to summon Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon. You can always summon a card from the deck, so you can summon a Megalo Smasher. And I was actually thinking about playing a Blue Eyes Ultimate in the extra deck, just because a Blue Eyes Ultimate is a non-effect, what is it called? A non-effect fusion monster. So even if you activated one of the effects of the field spell that turn, you could still summon a Blue Eyes Ultimate. Even though it doesn't count as a normal monster, of course, it still counts as a non-effect fusion monster, and it's pretty darn big. It's 4,500 attack. Hard to get over if it's like near the end of a battle or near the end of a duel. But that's it. That is my deck profile. Like I said, I won a lot of stuff this weekend. I only lost 1 duel. Actually, no, I lost. I entered one of the structure deck tournaments. I actually lost that. It was the fairy structure deck. I bricked like 3 times in a row. But outside of that, I only lost 1 full match. Other than that, I had 3 draws and like I said, like 15 wins. I had a lot of wins this weekend. But it's a very good deck. The only thing I would change, I play 3 Sea Stealth, and I would definitely put in Evenly Matched and Imperial Iron Wall, just because if you get evenly matched with this deck, it's very difficult to come back. Very difficult, because you can make all of the right moves and make sure that your field spell stays on the field last. You can make sure everything's right, but it's very difficult to come back from a evenly matched. But that's it. Like I said, lots of stuff I won, lots of stuff that I got just for participating in the event. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.